Ever since I told people that I was getting off social media, I have had a mixed bag of unsolicited feedback. I have had a mixed bag of feedback, anywhere from, hey, are you sure that you want to do it, to, no, you still have to keep posting on social media. So I wanted to record this episode based on a recommendation from a listener. Thank you. Do you really need social media to grow your business? So let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Cozypreneur podcast. If this is your first time listening, Cozypreneur is all about helping you make money and work with the dreamiest of clients. So grab your beverage, get your cozy socks on, and let's dive in. The easy answer to this is no, you don't have to use social media, but you do need a strategy. So I think that social media is a great tool because it does make creating a marketing strategy a little bit easier. But if you are deciding to step away from social media, then you need to be super intentional about where you're showing up. So when we think about the marketing funnel, right, this is the idea that you start off with a lot of people, and then slowly as they get to know you, the wrong people drop off and the right people convert. And so the three pieces to the funnel that you really need are visibility, which is how do you get in front of new people, nurture, which is how do you position yourself as an expert and build trust and get people to know you. And I swear, if somebody tells you that it's put your skincare routine on Facebook, it is not that. Nurture is about positioning yourself as an expert and building trust so people know that you can solve their problem. And then finally, you have sales, which is where people actually pay you money. And so social media is one tool that you can use to go through this process with your audience. But if you aren't using social media, what does that look like? How do you put those three pieces into your strategy? And so the answer is it depends, right? You know, some people really love Instagram. Some people love Threads. Some people love LinkedIn. And other people feel totally overwhelmed and feel like it's a huge waste of their time and they're not getting the results that they want. And so you really have to think about what's going to fit your season of life, right? You know, there are people with more time than others. There are people with young kids. There are people who have family members they need to care for. There are people with other commitments. And so really thinking about for you, your season of life, where you are right now, what makes sense for you. Because social media isn't inherently bad. Some of these companies don't agree with my values, but it's a tool, right? And you don't have to use that tool. There's other ways to get to the same ending. And so I would say like the biggest thing with not using social media is relationships. How do you build those relationships? And that was something that was hard for me because I have spent, 2.5 years on Instagram building my network and talking to people on DMs and, making friends. And so making this decision to get off was hard because I know so many people, right? I've built relationships with these people. And so how do I still connect with these people? And for me, a lot of it was getting on their email list, making sure they're in my inbox so I can stay in touch with them, but also just like hopping on coffee chats with people, going to events in real life. Like, where are the places that you can build those relationships? Is it guest podcasting so you can get in front of more people? Is it just replying to emails? This is something so simple, but like if you get a marketing email and you reply to it, like I've started so many conversations that way. And it's so interesting because people don't tend to reply to marketing emails. And so I think when you do reply, people get excited on the other end. I know I get excited when people reply to my emails, and that, generally starts a conversation, and then you can invite them to a coffee chat, right? So doing stuff like that, doing collaborations and bundles and summits, there are so many ways to still build a profitable business off of social, but you can't skip talking to people. You can't skip that relationship building piece. And even if you are on social media, you can't skip that. It's not just post and ghost. Like you have to actually talk to people. And I think that piece is really what's missing some of the time, because it's like people get so focused on like, how do I make the perfect post? And it's like, you also have to like talk to people, see what's going on with them, like see what's going through their mind. The other thing to consider when you are thinking about getting off social is the speed of your growth. And so social is good because it gives you an audience, right? It gives you reach and it does it pretty quickly. And so, for me, I use social media as my marketing tool until I built my email list and built all these other systems that kind of helped me grow. Versus if I was starting from scratch, I think it would have been really hard to do without social media, because social media was really where I built the foundation, was really where I built my first business network. And without it, my growth would have been much slower. Now that I'm almost 3 years in, I can do that because I've built the other systems, right? Like I have SEO going for me. I have my podcast going for me. I have my email marketing going for me, but it also took time to build those. And so I think that if you're considering getting off social media, maybe take some time to build some of those systems first so that you can slowly wean off of social media and not take like a huge hit to your business. I think the other thing that's important to talk about is social media is not an end all be all. So what I mean for that is I have seen people post for years and years and years, and they're still not signing clients. So if you are using social media and you're getting in front of new people, is your content actually converting, right? That's something to consider too, is like, no matter where you're showing up, no matter what tool you're using, whether it's social or your blog or your email list or your podcast, you still need a strategy, right? You still need those three pieces. You still need the visibility, you still need the nurture, and you still need the sales. And so I think that if you are thinking, hey, I want to get off social media because it's not working, I would consider, why is it not working? Which of those pieces are missing? And how can I make sure that those pieces are in place, right? So that my business is profitable. So for me personally, for visibility, I'm relying on SEO, right? So people find my website, they join my email list on my website. I also do a lot of collaborations and summits that really helps grow my list. And I email my list a lot. I email right now in the summer, I'm emailing less, but during the year, sometimes I email every single day. Sometimes I have a lot to say. And now that I'm not on social, I'm like, oh, where do I put all of my thoughts and feelings? Yes, this podcast, but also my email list. So really just thinking about that. And, I can't do this episode without promoting email marketing because it's my thing. I think with email, it's a little bit easier to do strategy than social media, because you're not fighting the algorithms. You're not trying to figure out which trends make sense for you. You're not worried about being shadow banned. You can kind of zoom out a little bit. You can kind of simplify your marketing a little bit. So I think it gets a little bit easier. So if you do decide to leave social, I personally would recommend doubling down on email and using it as your platform, right? Bringing people in, nurturing them, selling to them, and then also talking to people, right? So like, just because your email list is less interactive than what social media would be, it doesn't mean you can't invite people to coffee chats. It doesn't mean you can't ask your audience for feedback. There's a lot of creative ways where you can get more interactive with your people, and you'd be surprised. Sometimes people do reply to those emails when you ask a question, and you can have fun with email. It doesn't have to be stuffy. Like, you can have as much fun as you do creating social media posts. But all of this being said, really just making sure that you are talking to people, because relationships are really what makes business successful, and you can't automate the human parts of business. That's really how you build trust with people. And so social is really great because it helps you get in front of new people. It helps you start conversations, but it's never the full picture, right? It is never a one-stop shop. You still have to be a part of it. You still have to make sure that even if you're only on social and nowhere else, that you are still talking to people, you are still getting visible, you're still nurturing, and you are still doing sales. So if you are like, okay, Stacy, help, I want to get off social media, where do you focus? So SEO and blogging, this is a long game. And this is kind of why I say, like, I really built my foundation on social media before getting off. And I don't want to recommend anything. You have to figure out what's going to work for you. For me, I think that made sense because some of the other things like blogging are a long game. Like, email marketing is a long game. And so if you are thinking long term, yes, it makes sense to shift. If you need money now, then social media makes sense. And you need to make sure that you are networking and building those connections, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to help you sign your next client. So places to focus: SEO and blogging, guesting on podcasts, hosting trainings. That's been successful for me as a former teacher, really showing like, hey, you can do this yourself. That's been helpful to sign people into my building referral networks. So finding people who are related to your niche and referring clients to each other. So you don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be strategic and making sure you have those 3 parts to the funnel: the visibility, the nurture, and the trust. So if you're somebody that has been thinking about getting off social, I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings about why you're considering the change and what is holding you back, if anything. So reach out. Best way to contact me is get on my email list and reply to one of my emails. All right. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred listening platform. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe for weekly episodes about how to make money and work with the dreamiest of clients without having to get dressed in the morning. Make sure to check out the show notes down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.